stock up on Advil and rebalance your 401k, because we're entering the 50s on the Extended Play Podcast with Ian Tank.
It's the Extended Play Podcast with Ian Tank. We are a music discussion show without the hipster snobbery. And it is time for another edition of...
The EP 100?
That's right. That's right. The EP 100 being the Extended Play 100, where we count down the 100 best albums of our lifetime, roughly 1980 through 2020. We are now in number 60 through 51.
Yep.
Yep. So right in the meaty part of the entire...
The girthy center.
Gross. Okay. Yeah. So we're.
I mean, the albums just keep getting better. I mean, that's how countdowns work.
That's how it works, but it's still surprising every time I do the
the prep. Damn good album. Yeah. So if you like what we've done so far, and you should, if you have good taste,
yes,
it's only going to get better as we go on. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, relatives, hey, get on board. Check out this countdown.
Yeah. And if you've missed any of the previous episodes, we'll link them down here, probably somewhere up here. Give us a like and subscribe if you like this countdown. We do we do album reviews. We do all sorts of random topics. We're kind of try to give the audience, we try to give the extended family a wide range of goodness.
Right. We try to be like a buffet. Okay.
Yes.
And the EP 100 this season, that's, let's say that we're a Panda Express.
Okay. Sure.
The EP 100 is the orange chicken.
Right. It's always there.
It's the good stuff. It's always there. You're going to keep coming back for it.
That's right.
But we're going to throw in some of the honey almond or honey walnut shrimp. Have you had that, by the way?
No.
It's fucking fantastic.
Oh, I bet it is.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Do they have tofu at Panda Express?
I would think they have to.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, do you eat shrimp?
No.
No? Not a pescatarian?
No.
Honey walnut shrimp, folks. Check it out. So we're doing the countdown and other stuff, but the countdown is the crown jewel of the season. And for those of you who are just catching this one first, because the YouTube algorithm thought, hey, how about start at 60? The 100 through 90 episode, we go through extensively how we rank everything, but all you need to know is... more or less, if we were talking to someone we didn't know and didn't know their preferences, and they said, I need 100 albums to listen to, we would say, these are the 100.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
Yep. Right.
So buckle up, folks, because you're getting a shit ton of Tank to start this one off.
That's right. We'll start off with number 60.
That's right. Number 60 is from Soundgarden. The album is titled Super Unknown. It came out in 1993. E put this at 68. I put it at 43, and that has us at number 60. It was a negotiated album, so it was not a blind agree, but we looked back at the list and said this one should make it. Most of you probably are familiar with the album.
I would think so in our age bracket. The average age of our listener.
According to YouTube's demo.
That's right.
Yeah. So the big songs from this, Spoon Man, The Day I Tried to Live, Black Hole Sun, My Wave, and Fell on Black Days. All of which were released. I vaguely remember the video for all of these.
Oh, yeah, I think I do too.
I never liked Spoon Man that much.
I didn't either. It was the first single, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it was the first one. It was, and I really don't like Black Hole Sun. Maybe it was the video.
I think I probably liked it on first listen, but I remember it being one of the most played songs that summer or whatever season it was. It was on all the time.
The video was creepy as fuck.
It was.
And it got way overplayed.
Yes.
I don't need to hear Black Hole Sun the rest of my life.
No, that's absolutely true. Yep, I agree.
Fun fact, because I like to get these fun facts for you and researching this.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go looking for them. The title for Spoon Man.
Okay.
It came from Jeff Ament of Pearl Jam.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So during the filming of Singles, Ament made up a list of song titles for the fictional band in the movie.
Citizen Dick.
Yes. And Cornell took it as a challenge to write songs for those titles.
No kidding.
And Spoon Man was one of them.
Wow.
So there's your fun fact on how Spoon Man got its title.
That's really cool.
I personally am a big fan of a song called Fresh Tendrils and 4th of July. I think those are my two favorite songs, and they were not one of the singles. The album is full of odd time signatures and tunings.
Yes.
So it's why it sounds unique. There's a lot of off tuning. The time, I think it's more tuning than time signature, but everything feels just a little crooked.
Yeah, I think before this album, there's a lot of that time signature changes. I remember thinking, how did they become it shows what a different world what year
93.
93. What a different world it was and how open people's ears were to alternative music, that there could be these strange arrangements and they'd be huge number one hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So yeah, it's quality album.
Yeah.
It's the only Soundgarden appearance on the list. They have other good albums, but I mean, this one to me is Bad Motorfinger probably has somewhat of a case, but I think this is a much stronger album overall. So that was number 60. Moving on to number 59 is The Black Crowes with The Southern Harmony and Musical Companion. Now, which came out in 1992. I could spend an hour talking about this album.
Could, folks, and has.
Yes. So I'm gonna have to reel myself in a little bit here. And what better way to make it succinct than I have a visual demonstration?
Oh, I love it. Okay.
All right. So this glass is soul.
Okay.
This finger is Black Crowes music. Okay. Look at that. It's dripping in soul.
I'm just thankful you use your finger.
Right. It's family show.
That's right.
I love the Black Crowes. I think they're a singular. It's not that it's a new sound or a creative sound. It's just so authentically good at what they're trying to do, which is blues and soul based rock music. So now with that out of the way, I can tell you that shockingly, this is a Tank exempt album. I really wanted this. I mean, the Crowes, their quality would kind of it definitely peaked in the earlier albums, and they've been hit or miss, but this was, I think, just a masterpiece of an album.
This is second album.
So this fact that I guess makes sense, but it just sounds weird to me. The first record to have 4 number 1 album rock hits. That sounds so weird.
Oh yeah.
Like why
album rock hits?
Maybe it's some weird technicality, like album rock became a list in 1991, right?
Maybe.
The previous record was Tom Petty with 3. So,
okay. All right. Wow.
I mean, it sounds like something, but it just sounds weird.
What are those number 1 hits on that?
I don't know.
Oh. You know the singles, right?
Well, I know the singles. So
those are probably the hits.
Probably, right? So the singles were, just this fucking track listing, right? So Remedy, Thorn in My Pride, Sting Me, and Hotel Illness. Those were the 4 singles.
Okay.
But here's what I think is kind of bizarre and I think, again, amazing. To me, the 5 best songs on this album were not released.
Wow.
Right? So Bad Luck, Blue Eyes, Goodbye.
Great song.
Sometimes Salvation.
Great song.
Exactly. Now, Black Moon Creeping, I kind of dig it. It's not to the quality of the other 2.
Okay.
But then No Speak, No Slave.
I don't remember that one. So
you would know it if you... That fucking riff, dude.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh,
nice.
So fucking good.
Nice.
Check out, by the way, MTV Spring Break, 1993, whatever. No Speak, No Slave. It's on YouTube. It's fucking incredible. A rock and roll band at their peak. And then My Morning Song, which is another incredible
that's a good one too, yeah.
So at this point, and my next note, at this point in time, live Crowes were a force of nature. I mean, it was their peak lineup. Mark Ford on guitar, Eddie Harsh, this is his first album on keys. And Chris Robinson just sang the fuck out of these songs. So just such a good fucking album. There's no filler on it. It is just front to back, just solid. Maybe it was Rolling Stone. Someone coined them the most rock and roll band.
That's great
at the time, but
I love it.
They just were.
Yeah.
And not even sex, drugs, and rock and roll, just drugs and rock and roll. That's the other thing I like the Crowes for. They never did the misogynistic.
No, they never did.
No. It was just like...
That's true.
It was just rock, and they're legitimate Southerners.
Yes.
They're from Georgia.
Right.
I mean, it's not like, it's not like Greta Van Fleet where it's just like a fucking act,
Right.
Anyway, so there, I managed to keep it to a couple minutes.
Not bad. What year was this again?
1992.
92.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But yeah, incredible album.
Yeah.
Now, the third in a row that I have, and don't worry, after this it goes back to E. At number 58 is De La Soul with 3 Feet High and Rising. We were decently tightly bunched on this. E had him at 64. I had him at 46. Album came out in 1989.
Gosh.
This was a negotiated album, so we just agreed by looking at this has to be on. It was such an amazing contrast to the gangster rap that was peaking about this time.
It was.
I mean, it could not be any more, Straight Outta Compton and 3 Feet High and Rising.
Right.
Could not be any more different.
Right.
I think that's what made De La Soul great is, there was never any trying to be what they weren't.
Right.
They're from Long Island. They're suburban guys.
Yeah. Right.
And
they went to art school or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And even within the De La Soul catalog, 3 Feet High is different.
Yes.
after this, so De La Soul is Dead was the next album. It was kind of a transition. And after that, they were pretty much standard rap albums.
They were, yeah.
Good beats.
And really
still
good
very
lyrics.
good.
Yeah, really good.
No, that was probably intentional. They probably didn't want to get pigeonholed as like,
for sure,
the weird, quirky, Daisy Age, all that crap.
Right.
And probably why the second album is called De La Soul is Dead.
It absolutely is.
Yes. So songs from this album, in case you may have forgotten, Plug Tunin', Potholes in My Lawn, Buddy.
Oh, that's a good one.
Featuring Q-Tip.
Yeah.
Me, Myself, and I, which is probably what everyone remembers from. And God, they played that video a lot.
They played it a lot. I think I've mentioned this before in the
every
show.
scene.
I remember every single scene.
Yeah, like the guy with the 45 stuck in his head.
Right.
Yeah. And then Say No Go, which was that awesome.
Oh, Say No Go is good.
Yes. Hall & Oates sample.
Hall & Oates sample, yeah.
Speaking of samples, the reason why maybe some of you youngsters are not as hip to De La Soul is they didn't have anything available on streaming until 2023.
Right.
Which we talked about last year.
We did.
That's how fucking long this podcast has been going on.
Yeah.
Because just so sample heavy,
Right.
and they couldn't get everything cleared, and it was a huge issue with their catalog. But nothing has sounded like this before or since.
That's exactly right. It is singular.
I like reading the Wikipedia article. They mentioned like it's like a mix of like children's music, and they think it's like the first psychedelic rap album.
Yeah, sure.
Like it was its own thing.
Yeah, it's fun and funny and thoughtful,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It really is, takes all that seriousness, the way that hip hop was going with Public Enemy, NWA,
Right.
Eazy-E.
And Public Enemy, another great example.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
even without the gangster rap, the other political rap,
Right.
KRS-One,
Right.
there's a lot going on. They were just like, you know what, we're going to leave all that over here.
Right.
But yet it wasn't like overtly like party either.
Yeah.
It was just quirky.
Yeah, it was just
like
quirky.
something for dorky guys that like rap.
That's right. That's right. And that was us. That
Yes.
was and is us, as a
Yes.
matter of fact.
Yes. 1989, very much so. I remember going to Trapper's Alley and getting my African medallion.
I was with you.
Yeah.
Trapper's Alley.
Now Greektown Casino.
Yeah.
Sadly.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's 3 Feet High and Rising. Check
Nice.
it out if you haven't. It's a trip.
Yeah.
And those are the first 3.
By the way, random trivia fact I just saw on the internet the other day. I just saw on the internet. Could I sound more old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I logged on to AOL.
Hall & Oates, they are never in any official capacity called Hall & Oates.
Oh, Daryl Hall and John Oates, you mean?
Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Yeah.
Or it's sometimes Hall and, no, what is it? It's Daryl Hall and John Oates, or it's just Daryl Hall, John Oates. It's never Hall & Oates.
Huh.
Yeah. And now it's definitely never Hall & Oates because they fucking hate each other.
Yeah. And I think it was Dave Chappelle that some comedians said, like, I don't know what John Oates did, but Daryl Hall never did shit without him.
So true. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. No Hall & Oates records. Spoiler alert, no Hall & Oates records on this list. Oh, they could have made it.
They could have made it. I mean, the earlier stuff.
That's true.
I think they were, again, victim of spreading the hits out too many
That's right.
albums.
Yeah. Anyway, so that brings us to number 57, which is very timely, this album, considering what's just happened in the news. It's Definitely Maybe by Oasis.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just fortuitous, I guess, that this came up right at this moment when Oasis just announced the reunion shows, hoping they all go on without a
See
hitch.
all the ticket scandals?
No.
The dynamic pricing. There's a lawsuit in the UK now. It's a fucking disaster.
Shocking, right? Yeah. Let's.
But then someone pointed out, they're like, who's surprised? Like, why else were they doing this other than the money?
Right.
So, of course, they were going to maximize,
Absolutely.
yeah, whatever.
So anyway, Definitely Maybe. Let me find my notes here. 1994, good year for us, good year for music. We've said a number of times, 11 songs, 52 minutes. It's their debut album. It's got to be up there with one of the great rock and roll debuts ever. What's the Story? Morning Glory came after this. So, I mean, I don't know how deep I need to get into Oasis. To be honest.
Well, but I think it is important to list out the songs because even myself, I get mixed up as to which one was on which album.
Yeah. Okay. So it opens up with Rock and Roll Star, which is like a statement of purpose, right? That's like we're no fucks given. We are in this to become rock and roll stars. It's loud. It's brash. You get Liam's snarl right away with a sort of like almost offensively British pronunciation of things, which you were either into or you weren't at the time. And I remember it would be very shocking to my young ears at the time. So the singles are Supersonic, fucking killer song, Shaker Maker, which is a great song. I don't think a lot of people don't, I didn't remember it by the title, but it's a great song. And Live Forever. I mean, killer songs. And then Cigarettes and Alcohol was also another one. I like Slide Away. Slide Away is a fantastic song later on. So yeah, just tons of hits, tons of kick-ass rock and roll songs. Incredible knack for melody, just really impressive. And I think, right, Noel Gallagher wrote essentially all the songs. Liam just sang them. But I wrote down a question here. So there's they have a lot of sing-along quality, obviously, especially with What's the Story Morning Glory with like Wonderwall. Like you go to a concert or you go to like there's that famous clip when there was the shooting in Manchester and everybody sang Wonderwall, like in a crowded sort of Manchester central place. Anyway, Manchester Central Place. When their accent, Liam's accent is so thick and so pronounced in these songs. When you sing them in your head, or if you were to sing it out loud, would you sing it with the accent?
Probably.
I wonder.
Yeah.
Let us know, extended family. Would you, like, if you're in a crowd, are you singing maybe? Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I think you have to. Humans are weird like that.
Yeah.
Right? We just replicate the sounds we hear. We should test this theory and just go get hammered and go do karaoke and sing some Oasis, see what happens.
I think the more drunk we get, the more likely we are to do a British accent.
Yes.
Poorly.
Oasis or not.
Oasis or
Hello.
not. Yeah, speak about offensively British. A few tidbits about the album cover. The TV, somebody's watching the TV. It's like a room. I guess it's Bonehead's room. Shout out to Bone. That's the name of the guitar player.
What?
Bonehead.
What?
That's his name.
In Oasis.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Is like his whole name?
That's what it says. Bonehead.
It's not like Johnny Bonehead.
No.
So he's like the Edge.
Yes.
Or Slash, but Bonehead.
Yeah.
Wow, how did I not know that?
So anyway, they're in his apartment, I guess, and they're all like, somebody's laying on the floor, someone's sitting on a couch. There's the TV has the good and the bad and the ugly on it.
Oh,
yep. And then there's a still of an actor, a photo of an actor from A Fistful of Dollars. So big into Westerns, I guess, which is weird. And then there's also a photo of a Manchester City soccer player, which is not surprising because they are huge Manchester City fans. Yeah, so that's it. 57, Oasis from 1994. Definitely, maybe. I'm going to take a drink of water while Tank entertains you because I did one album and I'm already parched.
Yeah, I mean, talk about podcast stamina. But also, you mentioned serendipitous timing, but also the Crows and Oasis being so close on the... very similar trajectories of brothers hate each other, get together, break up, get together, break up.
It's true.
In researching the Crows one, I ran across, I really need to read Steve Gorman's book.
Oh, yeah. It's like a tell-all, essentially, right?
So the drummer of Black Crowes, who got kind of kicked out of the band in a way, but he basically says, they're both idiots. Like, I didn't realize how much he basically really goes after both of them in the book. Wow. So they will not be reuniting anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, that means coming in at number 56 is Daft Punk with Discovery. It's from 2001, 14 songs, 1 hour, 1 minute long. This is their second studio album. The first one was Homework, which is more like traditionally sort of techno house. Then there's this, which solidifies their sound as the only band in the world that sounds like this. Human After All came after that. So,
what was Random Access Memories then?
That was their last album.
Really?
The very last album.
Wow.
And then they called it quits.
Okay.
Yep.
You see the video when they broke up, by the way?
Yes, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was a really neat idea. 6 singles from this album. Yeah, crazy. It was recorded in their home studio. And this is something I did not know. It was the soundtrack. They basically co-produced an anime film that this entire album was the soundtrack to. It was a musical.
Okay.
So these songs are in the, and they moved the plot forward in the actual anime. The anime is called Interstella 5555. Okay. And then the subtitle, that's : Story of the Secret Star System. And each of the S's, the leading S's in all those words are the number 5.
Okay.
I know, it's so weird. It would make a decent amount of sense if you watch these videos. They were anime videos, and they were just from this film, I guess. Homework assignment. I gotta watch it. Right. Yeah. It's really intentionally playful and fun. They really lean into the rope. This is where the robot helmets come out, and they lean into these robot personas. I read a little bit. I was reading about it. One of the things they wanted to do was really shake things up, sort of in the traditional dance music sense, in that they wanted to make guitars sound like synthesizers and synthesizers sound like guitars. And that's very evident if you end up re-listening to the album, which I recommend you do, particularly something like Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, which a lot of people know from the Kanye
sample
version. Yeah. This is a rare example of good auto-tune, in my opinion. It's all auto-tune, but so ridiculously auto-tuned as to sound robotic, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not just correcting someone who can't actually sing.
Okay.
Right. Standout tracks, One More Time. Jesus, I mean, fucking classic.
Yeah.
Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, Face to Face, Digital Love. Digital Love, you might not know it's called Digital Love. You know the song. Yeah, nice blend of tempos. There's like an ambient track in the middle, which kind of like brings the vibe down for a little bit before we get back into a dance track. I don't have the vinyl sitting here. It's a big hit in this house. When I think I got the record 2 or 3 years ago. My daughter so that made her 7 or 8 or 9. We'd have dance parties in the living room. I mean, it's just so fun. Yeah, this record. So
nice.
56, Daft Punk, Discovery.
Fun random fact.
Yeah.
Talk about auto-tune. I don't know when this actually happened, but the clip came across my way. T-Pain singing War Pigs.
Without auto-tune.
Without auto-tune.
Incredible.
So apparently he has an incredible voice and incredible range.
He does.
So it's the irony of being known for auto-tune when you can actually sing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll link to that down below. He kills it. Yes.
All right. Number 55 is Kendrick Lamar with the album Good Kid, Mad City. Pretty big spread here. He had it at 77. I had it at 32. 32 seems high in retrospect, but whatever. It ends up at 55, probably where it should be. So this was a blind agree. This was one that we looked at the candidate list and we both agreed should be on here, though. It's essentially a concept album about being a teenager growing up in Compton, but from the standpoint of, I guess, someone a little more heady about it.
Yes,
and more of an observation of of the struggle,
right,
of someone who doesn't want to be the stereotypical Compton young black male.
Yes, absolutely right.
And it is, it's very much a concept album, really, when you think about it. And I think there was some list, one of the big magazines had like top concept albums of all time. They had it at number 1.
Wow.
Which I think is a bit of a stretch. Because it's a concept in the sense that it's like an ethos. Like,
right.
It's not like they made up a universe and fucking...
Right. This isn't Coheed and Cambria or fucking Yes or something, right?
Right, exactly. No, it is not. But big songs from this, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Backseat Freestyle, Swimming Pools, parentheses, Drink, which Tori Amos did a cover of, which was less cringy than you would think.
Oh, really?
When I saw that, I'm like, oh, dear God.
Please God.
What has she done? It's not great, but it could have been worse.
Okay.
And then, of course, the title tracks, which my personal favorite. So there's a track called Good Kid and then a track called Mad City. I like Mad City quite a bit. It's MC8 on it.
Oh, nice.
Chia.
MC8, underrated hip hop MC.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. And I remember there's a cute little YouTube short of him getting the call. He's like, you want me? Yeah. I do think it's funny that Poetic Justice featuring Drake.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Full circle. We have a whole episode on the Drake Kendrick beef. It's very entertaining.
Someone, there was a little meme, whatever thing on, I don't know what I was on Instagram maybe, where it just, the title just said Drake is going to have a really long college football season because like some marching band's playing Not Like Us. Like it's not going to go away for a while. So I was surprised. Another thing I like to do in going through this is look at, and Wikipedia does a good job of comparing for you of the critical reviews when it came out versus later.
Yeah, that's cool.
But everyone seemed to catch on to this when it came out.
They got it right away. Yeah, I remember that.
It was on a lot of best of and top. So I was actually, because I expected to see a lot of and then now everyone revision going back and saying, wow, what a great album.
Right.
But they seemed to pretty much get it at the time.
Yeah.
It's solid. It's one of the few hip hop albums that doesn't just have, it isn't junked up.
Right.
With filler and crap in the middle of it.
Yeah, bad skips.
If I was he, I would know how many tracks and minutes it was, but it's not that many tracks. It's like 10.
Yeah.
So Good Kid, Mad City. I would recommend listening to it if you haven't already.
Yeah. A little known fact, it's maybe one of the main inspirations for us doing this list in the first place because the Apple Music 100 had this in the top 10 10,
Yes.
top 5 maybe,
Yes.
and not To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
Which we're like, clearly don't know what the fuck they're doing. We got to take this matters into our own hands.
That's true.
And
so
we
it was
have.
because of K-Dot
That's right.
that we did this. And Lauryn Hill.
She who
The
shall
only
not be named.
The only time her name will be mentioned on this list because she ain't fucking on it.
That's right.
Spoiler.
God, I sent you something the other day where somebody was recounting another experience with her where they said, "Hey, Lauren," and she before another word got out of his mouth, and he's whoever it was like a popular recording artist with a lot of cred. She's like, first of all, it's Miss Hill. Like, get the fuck out of here.
If Apple Music is going to do that, okay, and I get it. Oh, shock and awe, and like to make a headline, pick a decent person.
Decent person? Yeah, not just an artist, like a good person.
Like, give that rub to someone who could actually...
Right.
Everything... I mean, it really backfired that all these people came out of the woodwork talking about how, like, she stole our shit.
Right.
Yeah. And then the concert tour was a huge failure, which gave me so much schadenfreude. All right. So, anyway, 55 is kind of like our 54, which I believe was your jersey number in junior high football.
It was. Wow. I mean, when we talk about we go back, we go back.
That's right.
That's right. So, Jesus, I played football.
Yeah. And I didn't, which looking at us now, you would think it was a much different story back then, folks.
I mean, I signed up for football. They gave me a jersey. I did not see the field for more than a second.
I was about 105 pounds at that point.
Yeah, we're going to 54. Before we go on to 54, I realized I didn't give any of the detailed statistics about the two records I've already talked about.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. So Oasis, definitely maybe. That was a blind agree.
Makes sense.
Yep. I ranked it 33. Tank ranked it 77. Okay. For Discovery, that was an E exempt. Wow. I fought for that one.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either. I ranked it 39.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
Mine had to be low.
Yeah, 70. Yeah. So big gap there. Which brings us to my next one that I'm going to talk about. Oh, by the way, I don't know if we said this before. Usually the person who ranked it higher is the one that's doing the talking. Yes. So in this case, it is not that.
Yes.
Because we also don't want to have one person.
Right.
It could happen where someone had ranked 8 of the 10 albums we talk about this episode higher.
Yeah. Then the guy gets up, makes a fucking sandwich.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So anyway, number 54 is Under the Table and Dreaming by
so good.
Dave Matthews Band. So good. This was blind agree. I ranked at 56. Tank ranked at 51. So we were pretty much right on the same. Yeah, we've talked about Under the Table and Dreaming. Do you remember what episode that was? It was like underrated albums. You brought it up.
I can't remember if it was one of my choices for the 500 when it was going to be replaced with other albums, but maybe it was honorable mention.
Yeah, we've talked about it at length before. We recently had a whole episode on our experience at the Dave Matthews concert, pretty much, which was not great, which made this really nice to go back and re-listen to after that poor concert experience. 1994, again, 94, killing it. 12 songs, an hour and 2 minutes. This is their second studio album. They had an independent record called Remember Two Things that most people got after they got this one. Yes. I feel like, right? You went back.
And then they were pissed because Ants Marching was on it. It's like, I already had that.
There's like 2 or 3, I think, were on it. And then Crash came after this. Fantastic opening track. I think what I really like about this album is it gets into what the Dave Matthews sound is immediately.
Yes.
There's the drum hit, and then it's immediately into the bones of the song, and you get this you get all the different instrumentation, which we talked about at length. We have a horn section and a violin player. I remember his vocal style be a barrier to entry for a lot of people at the time. Looking back, it doesn't seem like that so much anymore, but Dave does have a very unique sounding voice. And you get everything in that first song. You get his optimistic lyrics, like things are going to be okay, or things are getting better. Look on the bright side. You get a sax solo that's great, and it doesn't sound. I don't like sax. I notoriously do not like saxophone solos, but it somehow does not sound like adult contemporary radio. Yeah, to me, true. Right? Like in a cheesy.
Well, because I think doesn't it have the? It has like the chorus singing with it.
Yeah, that's probably
it. Probably helps.
That's probably it.
Takes the edge off.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when the title of an album is an Easter egg that's just buried in a song somewhere on the album. So this title comes from, it's in Ants Marching. I love that kind of stuff. It's a silly thing, but I don't know. It's just really charming. Again, the singles here are, well, I didn't write down the singles, but the sort of gotta listen to them. I love the opening track, but then there's What Would You Say, Ants Marching, and Satellite are all classics. A lot of which, like when I was re-listening, I'm like, I'll just skip those. I know those songs well enough. I'm going to look at the other songs that are on
Yeah,
this album.
Satellite never did much for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But what would you say? God, I mean,
Yeah.
when that came out, I mean, that was, I think, the big break, right, in terms of mainstream. And nothing sounded like that.
No.
With that depth and dynamic and all the instruments. I remember that was like my go-to song whenever I would get a new stereo.
Oh, cool.
It would be like, because there's just so much going on.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy because that's the one with the John Popper from Blues Traveler harmonica solo on it, right? Yeah, great solo on that. Weird choice. They close with an instrumental, and they have instrumentals on just about every album, and they're all numbered because I think they're literally like the number in order that they came up with. So it closes with number 34. But something I forgot is how dark and sort of menacing some of his stuff can be. Like, you think Don't Drink the Water is pretty intense, right? But there's something like that on almost every Dave album. And Rhyme and Reason and Warehouse are pretty dark. And that's cool. Like, it just shows his range. Anyway, fantastic album. If you haven't listened to it in a while, go back and listen to it. And I highly recommend listening to from top to bottom. It does get a little hippie cheesy with Jimmy Thing and stuff like that.
I hated that song.
Yeah. Right.
Comes out of the Jimmy thing.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Anyway, so that's number 54, Under the Table and Dreaming by the Dave Matthews Band.
Yes, sir. And bringing it right back over here for number 53, it is from a wonderful little lady named Fiona Apple. And the album is When the Pawn. Now, the full name of this album, well, before I get into that, E ranked it at 71. I had it at 35.
Wow.
Up there. And this is came out in 1999. It was her second album.
Okay.
The full title of this album is When the Pawn Hits the Conflicts, He Thinks Like a King. What he knows throws the blows when he goes to the fight. And he'll win the whole thing, for he enters the ring. There's nobody badder when your mind is your might. So when you go solo, you hold your own hand and remember that depth is the greatest of heights. And if you know where you stand, then you know where to land. And if you fall, it won't matter because you'll know that you're right. That is all the official. So at 444 characters, it did hold the record for the longest title. Someone has since beat it.
Probably just to beat it.
Exactly.
Right. You know?
Yeah. But that was a poem she wrote in response to the criticism of her first album.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So anyway, 1999, negotiated album. So I didn't know. So Fiona Apple was a blind spot for both of us going into this.
Yeah, we did a lot of Fiona Apple listening before this all started. Yeah.
And the during COVID, Fetch the Bolt Cutters came out, and everyone was talking about it. So I listened to it quite a bit because we had nothing else to do during COVID.
Right.
And I dug it. It's quirky. It was weird.
Yeah.
I got it, but I, for whatever reason, was not inspired to go back through the catalog. But really, her whole catalog was celebrated to some extent. Yeah. So for this exercise, I did go give a good listen to all of them, and I think When the Pawn is the best of those. But throughout the process, gained a huge appreciation for her as an artist.
Yeah.
So this one, I think, edges out the other ones. Extra respect for having a very successful commercial debut and then following up with something very different.
Yes.
I mentioned like the Faith No More effect, right? Like I was always impressed by Angel Dust. Kind of the same thing here.
Yeah.
Because there was Criminal and Shadowboxer that were the big hits, but nothing really like that. There's nothing pop sounding here.
No, there's not.
Fast As You Can was...
that was like the single, right?
Right.
First
and even
single.
that one is the closest to it. But after that, it was much different. She has such a presence in her songs.
She does.
Like there's just her voice and the playing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's a Fiona Apple song.
You do. From the serious tone to the sound of her voice. I mean, someone that can sing really like a generational talent in someone who can write songs that are incredibly complex, saying new things, but also can sing her ass off.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so obviously markedly her.
Yes. Yes.
So if you haven't dug into the catalog, just pick a spot and jump in.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she is, in a lot of ways, the spiritual successor to Tori Amos to me.
Yeah.
And I think to a lot of people. Matter of fact, of the negative reviews of this album, I forgot which publication it was, but they said something like, "Oh, just another Tori Amos wannabe," whatever. Okay. Which, I mean, just shows you how little attention they pay. It's like female piano, must be Tori Amos.
Exactly right.
Right.
Yeah. So dismissive.
So interesting fact, though, I'm looking at the credits, and the drums on this album are played by Matt Chamberlain, who is Tori's drummer.
Oh, okay.
So it's just funny to me that like,
Oh, yeah.
when she goes to get a drummer, it's like, who's Tori have?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And then I go down the Matt Chamberlain rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Check out his Wikipedia page.
The name sounds super
No,
familiar.
it's not Matt Cameron.
Matt Cameron from Pearl Jam and Soundgarden.
I used to always think like Tori had Pearl Jam's drummer.
Okay.
But no, he went to Soundgarden.
Right. No.
Other way around.
Yeah, other way around. Yeah.
Soundgarden to Pearl Jam,
Yeah.
and it's a different guy.
Okay. Right.
And what's fucked up is they've worked together on stuff. The whole thing
God.
is confusing as fuck. But if you go to Matt Chamberlain's Wikipedia, I mean, like Elton John,
Oh, really?
there's like 50 artists.
Yeah.
He's a very prolific session musician.
It's like the Foo Fighters guy.
Yes, the Josh Freese guy.
Yeah.
So to have, I just think it's funny that the same guy ended up with Tori and
Yeah,
and
it is
you know,
cool.
'cause it's like, well, he knows how to play behind the piano, right?
That's true.
So anyway, very good album. It's hard to even pick standout tracks. It's one of those listen to the whole thing kind of albums.
Mm-hmm.
So sure. When the Pawn, number 53.
Awesome. Speaking of a random drum fact that I did not bring up in the episode where we covered the album, and a Foo Fighters fact, which we just mentioned Foo Fighters, on Songs for the Deaf,
Yeah.
Queens of the Stone Age. So famously, Dave Grohl joins the band for that album, then does not play with them anymore after that, does a tour, and then that's it. And we talked about how much we love the drums on that album. He recorded the drums in one go, and then the cymbals in one go.
I did hear that.
And then layered them on top of each other.
Yeah.
So what you are hearing is never him doing both at the same time. They are separate. I don't know why you would do something like that. It's really weird. It's just kind of like a neat,
Well,
there must be some.
yeah, recording. So they're miking. I mean, we'll go a bit of a tangent.
right. That's
Miking
true.
up the drums is extremely
Super complex,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
because it's what do you get from the room and what do you
Yeah.
get from the drum.
Yeah.
So maybe they're like, they just couldn't get the sound they wanted. And they're like, okay, well, now we're going to do just cymbals and now just drums.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, little tidbit I forgot to mention earlier.
Yeah.
That brings us to number 52. All right. We are, this is the second, I believe it's the second Radiohead album we've talked
Yes.
about so far, In Rainbows. This was a blind agree. I ranked it 27th. This might be my highest one yet on this list. Tank ranked it 79. 2007, 10 songs, 42 minutes. Their seventh album. And man, 7 albums into their career and they're putting out shit like this. It just goes to show what a career they've had.
And as a note, that it's moved up a lot since we did this.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I've been listening to it a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Yep.
It's. I was delighted to be able to listen to it again, right? As a huge Radiohead fan, I do have periods where I'm listening to one and not others, right? I'm like Kid A focused. I was when we talked about Amnesiac, I was listening to that a bunch. Anyway, so Hail to the Thief came before this, then In Rainbows, then The King of Limbs. King of Limbs, widely regarded as one of their worst albums. Highly recommend if you haven't already, and I will link to it right here. They did a whole basement sessions thing. It was I think it was a BBC thing where they played the album in full in a studio. So you got to see them and kind of doing all the tricks and turning all the knobs while they're playing it. And I think that's really important to bring up because this is an album that rewards you upon repeat listening. There's so much going on in each one of these
All
songs.
of Radiohead, really.
All of Radiohead.
It's not an easy listen.
No, it's not. It's not. I actually haven't finished yet. There's an entire podcast, again, I'll link to that somewhere here too, called Dissect, where they take apart an album over an entire season. The In Rainbows one is fantastic, particularly if you are into actual music composition. So he's going through time signatures and all sorts of crazy stuff. But few things I did learn from that podcast is that basically the center point of the album, Tom York says, is Reckoner, which is a fucking fantastic song. I love it. He says basically everything, Reckoner's is the heart and soul of the album, and everything spreads out from there. First half of the album is pretty intense and I think more up tempo. Then it hits Reckoner, and then everything kind of goes down in tempo and seriousness. Maybe not seriousness, but just intensity. Highlighted big tracks here are for me, all of them. I didn't even write them down. Yeah. It starts off with 15 Step, which is a kick-ass song. Reckoner's a great song. I would have to bring up the track list, but there's so many good songs. None stand out as like singles per se.
Right.
But yeah, just great. If you got time, check out Gnarls Barkley did a cover of Reckoner.
Really?
So imagine CeeLo Green
Yeah.
singing Tom York.
That's a stretch, yeah.
it works surprisingly well. Their pitch, because they can sing in falsetto so well, actually matches pretty well. Anyway, I'm at the point of it's like talking about Black Crowes. There's only so much I can say about this album. Listen to the Dissect podcast. Check out the entire thing. If you don't like this album, you don't like Radiohead, but I think you can say that about any given Radiohead album, besides maybe like the Bends.
And we'll have, it's not the last time we're going to see him on the list too. So, spoiler.
That's right. So that's it. That's 52.
Yes. So one more.
51.
Got to lube up for it.
That's right.
Nice and moist.
Gross.
Yeah.
Number 51 is Norman fucking Rockwell by Lana Del Rey. This was an E-exempt.
Yeah, because I had not. Yeah. I just got into her recently and I'm going backwards. So.
Yeah. And to be honest, it was initially a little arbitrary why I chose this one, because I didn't know her all that. I knew a handful of albums pretty, decently well. But now I stand by it. I ranked it 46, Tank ranked it 59. Fantastic album. This is all you need to know within the first track about the album. The first lines of the album, let me pull it up. I just wrote it down. The first song is Norman fucking Rockwell. And the first lyrics on the album are, "Goddamn man-child, you fucked me so good that I almost said I love you. You're fun and you're wild, but you don't know half of the shit you put me through." And it's that kind of conversational, no bullshit.
Yes.
She walks this line. I love this, that she does this. I think she was criticized at the beginning of her career, like in the first couple albums, of being like the Hollywood starlet type. She would often talk about like, putting on a show for her man and dressing up in high heels and stuff. And it was very maybe diminishing as far as feminism goes. She walks this line now where there's this blend of like owning her femininity, owning her sexuality, but being a badass. Yeah. And taking no shit from any guy who comes into her life, which I really love. This album and all of her albums, a thing that it's a good album or it's a good artist when they break one of your rules. Like we all have these little like pet peeves where you're like, I don't like this thing. Like Tank, it would be like somebody who's one person but gives himself a different name, like like Jason Molina and Magnolia Electric Company or whatever. The rule is for me has always been, don't mention modern technology in songs because it dates it so much. I think I always thought for the longest time, like, you hear songs that mention the phone, like I'll dial you up, and that's now antiquated. Yeah. And anyway, but she has no problem with this, and it doesn't bother me. She will mention like live streams and social media stuff and like
Zoom calls,
right? Which are going
a lot of Teams meeting.
It's gonna be outdated, but I'm totally fine with it. Yeah. Great blend. Lana Del Rey albums, and this is no different. There's 14 songs, 1 hour and 7 minutes. They are a little long. Lana Del Rey albums are usually 3 or 4 songs too long, in my opinion, and would be absolute classics if you took away those 3 or 4 songs. But she oscillates, whatever.
I think both work.
Yeah. Between torch songs and waltzes. There's a Sublime cover on this album.
Man, I don't like Sublime.
I don't like Sublime either. And it kicks ass. It's great. That's Doing Time, by the way, which is a interpolation of Summertime, which is like an old jazz standard. But standout tracks, Venice Bitch, Norman fucking Rockwell. There's I really love the very last track, which is, wait for it, because it's got a weird long title like Fiona Apple, and I was just listening to it, so I'll be able to tell you quickly. Hope is a dangerous thing for a woman like me to have, but I have it. ...
Is it a ...
It is. Nice. Yeah, really good. Really good. So highly recommend. This is Jack Antonoff produced. I think this might have been the first one that the dude, whereas his look, he's the most punchable face in all of music to me. Okay. Because he wears the big he wears the style circle glasses.
That's a problem.
Intentionally dresses like a doofus, like in big dad jeans and stuff that doesn't fit.
Why?
And I don't know. Okay. I think to piss me off.
Okay.
He is. Anyway, but the dude can write a song. Yeah. It's the production on these albums are incredible. So highly recommended. Norman fucking Rockwell, number 51, 2019.
And that's it for this fucking list today.
This fucking list. That's right. Check out again, we'll link to our previous episodes. We'll be back in 2 weeks for the 40s, believe it or not. So we're over the hump, right? Home stretch.
I mean, we're halfway done now.
Yeah, halfway done. It's crazy to think. And there's still so many good albums to talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll be back in a couple weeks with the next 10. In the meantime, we'll have another great episode. Who knows what it'll be about?
We don't even know.
Yeah. But it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that.
Yeah, that we know.
Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already.
Smash it.
That's right. You can find us all over social media at Extended Play Pod. We love you.
Yep.
Come back.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe, please.
Yeah. Come to daddy.
That's right.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.